Is there a movie that you know, like, specifically from front to back, the details of what made it a bomb that you could say?
Oh, okay. This is an interesting one. Famous bad movie, Battlefield Earth, is very interesting because
that's a classic one.
Oh yeah, because it's both a classic example of a bomb, but also a classic example of a movie that everyone thinks is a 0 out of 10. So
Yeah.
the thing here is that movie had a weird built-in audience, and thus built-in people to fund it, which was the Church of Scientology. Because
hell yes,
L. Ron Hubbard.
Shout out to LRH, baby.
Yeah, our boy, our man himself.
I've got my copy of Scientology
Here at the Bargain Bench
Dianetics
podcast.
sitting on my shelf just over there, baby.
We support
I am not an
Scientology.
SP. I have never been labeled a suppressive person. Please stop contacting me. Leave my family alone. We're chill, guys.
We're good. We're good. No disrespect. Ignore. Please turn the podcast off. But yes, that was an interesting story because it had, and as you might know, a lot of famous Hollywood people are very involved in Scientology. So
what? This is the first I'm hearing of this, actually.
So you might so getting the actors is built in, at least some of them. So that these are all elements. However, one problem is you're basing it off of bad source material.
A shit book that is just, like, for context on how LRH would write, L. Ron Hubbard, he reached a certain point in his career where he would just freestyle and just speak out loud what is happening in the book, and he would dictate it to someone who would actually write it down. So I'm not sure if this comes from that stage of his career, but it's possible. I mean, he functioned in that sort of level for a good portion of his career, and I highly recommend the series by Last Podcast on the Left about him. He is one of the all-time great grifters. And so that is the type of source material that they're working with.
Yes.
He's in the Grifters Hall of Fame with Zach Baggins.
And now...
Zach Bagans couldn't fucking wash L. Ron Hubbard's feet.
No, he couldn't. He's on the level of, like, Bob Kane, man who put the word bat and man together in no other aspect of Batman, and was credited as his sole creator for, like, 70 years.
Damn.
Fucking over Bill Finger, who, wrote the comics and drew the comics and made Batman's design and all that.
Yeah, lots of finger fucking going on.
A lot of finger fucking. Yeah, bad source material that only weird people care about. That is a flawed start to a movie. Now, the thing is that this was attempted for, like, years. And that is another common factor in a box office bomb, is development hell. Because of Hubbard's weird connections into Scientology, into LA and all that, and with Scientology and all that.
Hollywood.
Into Hollywood land.
Holly weird, more like it, huh?
Yeah, that's clever. He was able to option the book and, like, get it out there, and talked about getting it adapted, and was, like, head in front of people since, like, the fucking early 80s. Movie doesn't come out until 2000. A movie being in development for that long is normally a bad sign. Two, the thing is taken by Franchise Pictures, which is, like, a fucking weird production house that, like, did not exist for very long. Created out of, like, various producers and stuff from other production houses. But the thing is that while this film definitely has an audience, it's a strange and niche audience. So you kind of have to still make a proper sci-fi blockbuster. And that takes money. A sci-fi blockbuster filmmaking is expensive. And
around, like, $100 million, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Even in the 90s, it would take, 70, 80, 90, $100 million. They end up tracking it out, and the budget will take like $100 million. But they end up convincing their Scientologist star, John Travolta, to take less money on the movie, to drive it, to waive his $20 million fee, and they use some other scrimping to make the movie cost $75 million. But this is still a hefty amount of money to invest in something. However, franchise pictures... Okay, there's a system to which you can invest in movies, not just buy the movie, but just studio, project, like, here's our group of releases. Like, and it kind of mitigates your risk to be like, oh, I'm investing my $5 million into these projects. And, if I have a little cut of a hit movie, that might cover the fact that some of my money was invested into trash or whatever. But Franchise Pictures plays games that eventually cause their bankruptcy and lawsuits, where they don't actually invest the money into the movie. So that's...
Fraud, you say?
Amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But under the right circumstances, a producer could make more money with a flop than he could with a hit.
And the movie ends up... costing, there's various estimates. People think around like $40 million was actually put into the movie, which is part of the reason why the movie looks like shit.
Yeah. It's real fucking bad looking. Those sets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the sets are bad, generally gross looking. It doesn't help that every single shot is a Dutch angle for no reason.
Yeah, that's no exaggeration. It's like literally,
it's literally
100%.
every single shot.
One of the things that we came up with was, which I know a lot of people will find disturbing at first, is that everything is Dutch angle. There is not a level frame in the film. And interestingly enough, when we've had certain things that have come up and we've been shooting multiple cameras and one camera has ended up with a level frame, we haven't been able to cut it in. We've had to put it in the bin.
However, this project, even with all these weird issues and stuff, could have maybe been pulled to something by a filmmaker.
George Lucas calls the king of science fiction film, and he says, I have the director for you.
And they get a guy named Roger Christian, who has directed like a couple movies you've never heard of before in your life, but he was a second unit guy on Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace.
Star Wars connections that'll do it.
Yep, and he did production design set stuff on both Star Wars and Alien, which are great looking. Great work.
He said he is the only person in the world that should direct your movie.
But you to steady a ship like this, a crashing Titanic. You might want like a craftsman filmmaker. I don't mean like a makes 10 out of 10, whatever I mean. But I mean a guy who consistently gets the movie done on time, on budget, and has made 40 movies.
Yeah, just someone who's effective.
Yeah. But they get a guy who's directed like 2 things you've never heard of and has done a lot of work on movies, and great work, but not as a director.
No.
And so the ship is being steered in that direction.
It's like you get your driver's license and then you're expected to fly a plane.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they take this guy and they put in Travolta, a famous Scientologist, and he was kind of having a weird career resurgence post his involvement with Tarantino.
There's so much that reminded me of Pulp Fiction, but in the year 3000 instead. The kind of dark humor it had and the cool kind of hip qualities that the movie had.
By all accounts, John Travolta's a really weird guy. And
really?
And
you don't just hang out at gyms at like 4 a.m. just taking pics with dudes?
Yeah, just chilling. just relaxed.
Chillaxing.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they get an inexperienced director. They get a fucking, I don't know how to refer to it, cinema queen in John Travolta. a just fucking weirdo. to be the star, who, when allowed to run amok, is one of the worst actors who has ever lived.
Oh, friendly bartender!
Whatever he's doing in that movie is like, no, just please stop.
I am a bad guy.
What can white guys do for dreadlocks? Can they bring them back? And if anyone could do it, John can figure that out. Yeah. We only wish the evil looked like that. We wish like all people that were evil walked on the street doing that laugh.
Wouldn't it be nice? You could just spot him, you go, oh, dreadlocks, evil.
A more experienced director, like, craftsman, fucking put the shit together guy, might have been able to just reel it in and get the right takes out, but the director was not up to the task.
Can you imagine a director, the person who works with the actors, being put on set with John Travolta, who, I'm sure he has some sort of feeling like he's doing something for the movie. He's a producer. He took a pay cut, so he feels some sort of authority.
And he's a mega star, so it's like that director doesn't want to tell him what to do. I bet he didn't give him any notes. He just let him go buck wild.
I'd be fucking scared out of my mind.
Yeah. And then a big 90s thing to do. It still happens now, of course, but it was a big popular move in the 90s for some reason. Make the actual star just a fucking dude who's like in a couple movies people might have seen. With Barry Pepper, who's a good actor, but he's just a fucking guy. He's not somebody who pulls people to the movie theater, especially then. So, he's been in more stuff, but, he played a character in, not the lead or even close, but he played a notable character in, the Saving Private Ryan, and that's, all he really had when, this came out, or was being put together with him.
It's not to be taken too seriously. It's just a roller coaster of good times. I really, really enjoyed making this film.
So, you have a nobody star, you have a villain role who is played by a fucking weirdo who you cannot control. The movie does not have the actual funds to have effects needed.
Yeah, to pull off what it's trying to.
Yeah, to pull off what it's trying to do. But it still costs enough that it's you can't just sail by. It's not just it costs so little money that you make money if it makes anything. Like Upgrade. a film by Lee Winnell that was made for a couple mil and marketed for nothing. And it's that made a little bit of money. We're fine. I threw out the quality thing earlier, but every single thing possible comes together here to produce the worst product humanly imaginable.
Yeah, without exaggeration, in terms of movies with real budgets, this is up there in terms of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of bad stuff, but a lot of that stuff doesn't have real money behind it.
Yeah,
so
it's a small passion project, like The Room or something.
Yeah,
often lends itself to be a movie like that.
Yeah, so in terms of anything with any amount of money, this is so bad. It's unwatchable.
This movie was fucking thrown at a unsuspecting public. The movie opened up to $11.5 million, which is a bad number. A really, really bad number. But the fact that the movie got indescribably bad reviews and word of mouth, even by the people in Scientology, people in the cult.
Whoa, Aaron.
Sorry.
Whoa. Hey now. Hey, Tom Cruise. We can work together, buddy. We want you in the Paramount movie.
Yes, we want you to play
Jack Ryan and the original of Ethan Hunt
and Top Gun.
Yeah,
you play all three of them.
No, world's greatest actor Tom Cruise and John Travolta were not able to save this film by getting their followers to go see it. And the thing is, that's an awful fucking opening weekend by any standard. But the true problem was not the opening weekend. It's that everyone fucking despised it all the way down.
Our first movie is an unholy mess named Battlefield Earth. Let's not beat around the bush. This is one of the ugliest and most incomprehensible movies I've ever seen. It's like spending 2 hours in the intergalactic town dump with a lot of people who need a bath and a trip to the dentist.
So the second weekend, the movie fell fucking almost 70%. It made under $4 million.
Oh my god, man.
And it's like, the movie is trucked at that point, which is why, like a week or two later, Warner Brothers just gives the fuck up on the movie, which they had been decided to distribute. They didn't, like, make it, but they put it out there for you. And so they just massively cut the amount of screens. That thing was playing on almost 3,000 screens. It is playing on 600.
Whoa. Yeah, that is like the widest of releases.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, it was supposed to be a mid-level sci-fi blockbuster, and instead, it was this. So, yeah, the movie just fucking dive bombs out of existence because no one fucking likes it. And then, yeah, and cutting the theaters makes it even worse, because it's like, even if you wanted to look at it, now my nearest 2 theaters don't play it anymore. I gotta go drive over here to look at this. Like, even if you're gonna watch it ironically, like, that's a lot of effort.
Yeah. I'm not driving to Cleveland for that shit.
that movie, and then yes, due to weird financial maneuvering done by Franchise Pictures. Franchise Pictures closes down eventually. Like, it takes years because that's how, stuff like that works. And they put out a bunch more movies before the end. But they had their reputation destroyed by the whole thing. They were sued repeatedly. And because it was maintained that they, lied about the movie costing $75 million, and you could kind of see that just by looking at it.
Yeah, it's not exactly covered up very well.
Yeah, allegedly lied, or whatever.
Alleged.
Alleged. And it was alleged by the people suing them that they took the money and put into films they thought would be more financially viable. So yeah, that's a front to back from production hell to not getting the right people to be involved in the movie, to having the production destroyed by financial issues and the wrong and weird actor issues and all that.
No marketability.
No marketability, all the way to the movie releasing. And, if it was good at all, it could have made like $50 million or $60 million off that, opening weekend. But instead, it had a final gross of under $30 million. So yeah, word of mouth, making sure your production isn't a fucking mess, getting a competent, well, not it's probably fine, but
maybe
a guy
just
who can
don't
steer
involve
this
yourself
ship.
in Scientology.
Yeah,
I think that's a good.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a good base.
I disagree. I disagree, sir.
Okay.
I disagree. I have so many thetans running through my fucking bloodstream. You would not believe what my results were when I head down.
What is that? I don't know anything about science.
Evan,
is that like midichlorians or like what?
Yes,
yes,
it is literally midichlorians.
That's hilarious.
But real.
Yeah.
But real life.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I don't know jack shit about Scientology.
Oh, no, don't. I'll get you a copy of Dianetics. It's very detailed. It's technical, but at a certain point, you get it, man. You get it.
Okay. At a certain point, you surrender you surrender yourself to it, and and just become the devout.
Yeah, like a good song or a good movie, you just let it all go and just
Sounds
Let it happen.
great. Sounds like a great Sunday afternoon.